Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy Bass the Kid. First things first, Happy New Year. It's 2023, so let's start it off right. Hope everyone had a great festive period and had a great New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Hope you got everything you wanted in the Boxing Day sales, if you partook in that sort of stuff, or if you're just waiting for them January sales. Any and all, I hope you had a great one. Now, there hasn't been any boxing over the last couple weeks, but there has been several different stories. I took a few days out, so I guess this is going to be a bit of a summary, just to sort of give my thoughts on a few things that have happened over the last week or so. I didn't get to see the Aoka versus Franco fight. Couldn't find the stream for it, but hopefully I will find one this week so that I can watch it in time to be able to talk about it a bit on the Breakdown show on the Undefeated podcast channel on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. So without further ado, this is going to be a bit of a mishmash of many different stories, so there won't be any real structure to it. I was going to do a one and done, but knowing my luck, I'm probably going to get interrupted and have to edit stuff out, which I don't want to do anyway. So yeah, I'll just record it in each individual segment and whatever sticks. But yeah, for right now, let's get into it. I guess as good a place to start as any is with good old Frank Warren. So first things first, Frank has pulled off a master stroke, as you know he has been known to do from years gone by, maybe when there was more financial backing behind him. But that notwithstanding, I've always said, and I think it's undisputable, that Frank Warren probably has the best eye for young talent in the game over here in the UK, and well, I guess maybe Ireland as well, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, in terms of, you know, finding young talent, bringing them through, nurturing them, he's always pretty much been very solid and very credible with that. A few misses here and there, but for the most part he's pretty strong in that department, and he's done it again, signing up 18-year-old Moses Atuma, or at least he will be 18. I'm not sure if he's 18 just yet, but due to the fact they probably won't be an Olympic cycle, I think he decided to turn pro, as he wasn't likely to make the next team, and we don't know what's really going on with the Olympics at the minute. So Moses is looking to turn pro from early. And you know what? I've seen the skills. I've seen a couple of videos that Hatman obviously spoke about him previously. Hadn't seen much stuff, but I started to take a bit of notice about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, just before Christmas ultimately. Then we get this news that, you know, Frank's got him on a long-term deal. Now I know a lot of people said they don't really like, you know, young fighters or fighters in general signing long-term agreements, being stuck with a promoter, especially in this day and age. But you know what, when you're at the start of your career, those first sort of 10 to 12 fights is really building fights anyway. And if it's like a 4-year deal and you've got a, you know, 12 fight plan, you fight 3 times a year, or even if it's 16 fights within like a 3-year span to 4 fights a year, you're going to be building anyway. And then when you get to a age when you'll be like, what, 21, 22, you can have a look at the contract and re-up again, or, you know, look for better offers. So I don't really see any issue with it. It kind of protects him and protects the investment for the time being. And yeah, if Frank can bring him along the way that he's brought along, you know, many others in the past, then it should be a good move for him. So that's definitely a master stroke, and congrats to him and Queensbury. One other thing though that I did see, funny enough, speaking of, you know, getting people and not getting people, bit of a weird segue, but we'll work with it. I know Frank Warren was basically having a laugh the other day, saying, you know, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, all I hear is fighters leaving, so that's because they're on dead zone, and if you're on dead zone, there's no exposure, you don't get seen. Now look, the trolling is always hilarious, it's always fun, and you know, they need to all go back and forth with each other, that's what they do. But the question I kind of then would have is two things. Number one, okay, all of these fighters are leaving the zone and Matchroom, but they're not going to Queensbury and BT Sport. They're going to Sky Sports and Boxer. So why are you happy that talent is leaving one of your competitors to go to another one of your competitors? Shouldn't you want that talent to come to you? Why aren't you signing these people that are leaving Matchroom? So if it's that bad over there on the app with no exposure, then what's the excuse you have for being on BT Sport, which is on Sky and on every other terrestrial box that you can get in the UK? Like, why are they not coming to you for that same exposure that they're not getting on DAZN? That's my question. So it's weird. Like, I've said it a couple of times just to other people, but I'm putting it on video now so you can kind of see it. It's like, ultimately, whether Eddie is having a bad time or failing or whatever you want to say, like, his failure is not equaling your success, because your shows are still not pulling in the numbers that they need to be pulling in. I would almost wager the majority of the Matchroom shows that went on over the last 12 months, with the exception of maybe Wyatt Fury, Parker, with Parker and Joyce. Parker, Joyce, and then Fury, Chisora 3. I don't know what the visibility of your other shows are. I mean, I'm pretty sure more people watch the Channel 5 shows than they've been watching BT Sport. I'm pretty sure more people globally are watching the DAZN shows than, again, are watching BT Sport, because your stuff isn't even really coming on after the football matches, from what I can remember. I can't remember how many BT Sport Queensbury shows I've actually watched, and I've got BT. So, it's a bit of a damning indictment there that, yeah, Eddie's losing a lot of people. Cool. Whether he actually cares about those people or not, I don't know. I don't think anyone outside of maybe Lawrence Okoli was people that he was desperately trying to keep and trying his hardest to fight for. But even if they are leaving, the fact is they're not leaving to go to you. So they're leaving to go to another one of your competitors. So that shouldn't actually fill you with glee. You should still be worried that you're not getting this talent to put on your shows. But again, congrats on the Moses Atuma signing. That should bear some fruits in about 2 years or so. I guess, staying on Frank Warren just for a little bit longer. So I saw the IFL interview where he basically said that the Fury Chisora trilogy fight did more views than DAZN has subscribers. And then apparently on Seconds Out, he said that basically it's in excess of 500,000. Well, from what I can remember, right, I think Derek Chisora was supposed to be getting about 3.25 mil or somewhere along those regions for the fight, supposedly. And Tyson Fury was supposed to be getting somewhere in the region of 20 to 22 million. So if we look at and we do some quick maths, so 500,000, if we round it up to say £27, that works out to 13,500,000, I believe, give or take, right? Okay, so you've got that. Then you've got the gate. So 60,000, obviously tickets is multiple prices, but let's give it another, let's be generous and say that it did about 8 million. Let's say it did 8 million on the gate, right? So in that sense, so now you got 21.5 mil. Well, by the lowest estimates that we could use, let's say Chisora got 2 million and Tyson got 20. So then that's 22. So you're still £500,000 short. Now, if we look at pay-per-view, you obviously have to, there's a revenue share between the broadcaster and then the promotion, and then you've got the fighters. Don't forget the undercard fighters who would have a certain amount of pay as well, plus any particular upsides or other guarantees and things that you need to pay for, expenses and costs and whatnot. Realistically, if we then tack on, say, let's tack on another 2 million. Let's say Daniel Dubois and everyone else, and then the cost of running the show and hiring the venue and everything was another 2 million. So then your costs now work out to be 24, and then your overall bring back was about 21 and a half. So that then means that the show still flopped financially. I mean, it may have done a lot better than people were expecting, because I definitely didn't expect 500,000 people to pay for it, especially at that kind of price point. If that is, you know, to be believed, then I've got no reason to argue that. So I'm going based on Frank's figures. Yeah, so it still didn't make money, if that's the case. And that's, again, not including if whether or not Chisora got 2, he might have got, as I said, 3.25, which is kind of what I heard. And if Fury got 22, then that's over 25 million just for that, without everything else in tow. So yeah, I mean, okay, whether or not it did more than what the DAZN subscribers are in the UK, that still doesn't make it a financial benefit. So again, like, all of this failures of other people isn't making your stuff any better. So again, I think, look, all of the promoters at this point either need to come and just work together to put on the best fights, or they just all need to do their own thing and stop talking about each other. Because again, putting down someone else doesn't raise you, and vice versa, you know, and you rising doesn't happen, you know, putting down someone else. Everyone needs to just keep their energy within themselves. That's the kind of way I look at it. But yeah, I guess that's enough sort of praise and criticism for Frank Warren on this occasion. So yeah, let's move on to whatever else is to talk about. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about fight cards real quick. So it was announced back on the 21st of December that on the Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank Jr. undercard, we were going to get Richard Riakporhe versus Krzysztof Glowacki, and Joseph Parker versus Jack Massey. Now, the Riakporhe one makes sense. I guess it's a common opponent with Lawrence Okolie and also Maris Briedis as well, and Alexander Usyk. So I guess you kind of see where he ranks in and amongst that. But this is a Glowacki that now, you know, is a bit more punch drunk, punch worn, probably can't take a shot the same. So, you know, you'll get the knockout that, and probably in quicker fashion than both Okolie and Briedis and even Usyk got. But it's you know, it's a credit, it's to put you in the same vein as them, I guess, to say, oh well, you know, I did it better. But you know, doing it 4 or 5 years later, not really the same thing. But it's not a bad test to find out exactly where you are en route to that world title. The Joseph Parker versus Jack Massey one is very, very weird. But that also being said, it's probably Joseph Parker's announcement fight for Sky Sports and Boxer, because remember, he had to go over to BT Sport and Queensbury for the Joe Joyce fight back in September and took an absolute beating. It was a good fight, don't get me wrong, but yeah, if you look at the two faces at the end of the fight, only one of them looked like they'd actually been in a war, which is a damning indictment, because you know, he did put a bit back on Joe Joyce, but Joyce just didn't look like it at the end of the day. So yeah, that Jack Massey really looks like a showcase fight. It's just like announcing back to the world to get a quick stoppage. Saw an interview with Jack Massey the other day, basically saying, you know, he was strapped for cash and over the Christmas period, and they offered him the fight. He took it. He's not just taking it for the payday, but the cash is coming in handy. So that tells me everything I need to know. He's a cruiserweight. Said he's probably going to come in at about 214, maybe 217. Parker shouldn't be in the 250s going into the ring, but realistically he's still going to have about 25 to 30 pounds on Jack, regardless of whatever weight he comes in. And yeah, I like I said, I think that's just a gift, for getting beat up in his last fight. So yeah, also speaking of cards, we had DAZN have a Matchroom have put out their first card of the year on the 4th of February, Madison Square Garden, but in the Hulu Theatre, not the big room. And it is a double undisputed title fights. It is the featherweight and the super featherweight undisputed titles for the women's division. Amanda Serrano versus Erica Cruz Hernandez, and Alicia Baumgardner versus Ellen Mekhaled for the undisputed in that. Now obviously Hyunmi Choi was the WBA champion, who has now been made champion recess because she cited injury as to not be able to take the fight, and the WBA have allowed Ellen Mekhaled to fight for the belt, even though she's coming off of a loss in her last fight to Delphine Persoon. No idea why Persoon wasn't offered the shot, or maybe she was out of contention because of the no contest that she had in her previous fight, which realistically could have actually been a DQ against her. But maybe there'll be a deal where she might be able to fight the winner or fight Choi if those belts become vacant afterwards. Not sure. Either way, it's the first card I've actually seen from Matchroom in a while, and actually all the promoters where there's no heavy hitters. Like the main event itself, Amanda Serrano, she's got a profile now, but I still wouldn't call her necessarily a heavy hitter. Alicia Baumgardner's got a great profile. Her stock is rising every day, but again, she's not a heavy hitter like that, like a bona fide attraction. But yet the entire card from top to bottom, everything I've seen on there is pretty stacked. Like it's probably one of the most complete cards I've seen, you know, from undercard to main event in a while, and that's saying something. So, you know, I gotta shout out Matchroom, Eddie Hearn DAZN for that one. Even Richardson Hitchens and Bowser, like I've only seen a couple Bowser fights, so I'm not going to make that I know a huge amount about him, but again, the Puerto Rican guy makes sense to be in that. Rashad Matty's on the card as well. Sky Nicholson is in fights with another undefeated fighter. Same with Ramla Ali, like, you know, all, and who's she fighting? Christy Maffey. So yeah, like there literally is just, there's a lot of tests on this fight. It's like who's gonna rise to the top and who's gonna fall by the wayside. So I gotta I gotta big up. It's a nice card, and you know, hopefully we'll get the rest of the schedule at least for the first quarter or the first third of the year, and yeah, all good. Looking forward to it. I guess if we stay on the topic of Matchroom and DAZN and everything, so Anthony Joshua's schedule, supposedly he's going to be in against a top 15 guy in April. Now they said March before, they said February before that, so don't be surprised if that ends up being on Cinco de Mayo, same as Canelo at this point. But okay, so April then, and then in the summer is supposed to be Dillian Whyte rematch, and then in the fall or the winter, I suppose, then we're looking at supposedly Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder type fight. Well, if the first fight is going to be in April, when's the second fight going to be? That would be my question, because historically no one really does a lot of fights during August. So is that going to be late July? And is that going to be enough of a turnaround and a time for relaxation for AJ? Because I mean, let's be real, he struggles to even fight twice a year these days, let alone 3 times. The last couple years since 2020, it's been once a year. So, you know, to go back up that activity is gonna be a strange thing, but I hope it happens, because not just for the game, but he needs that activity. He needs to stay in the gym. He needs to get his team sorted out. Mainly, that's the first thing. But this top 15 opponent, is it top 15 by the ring rankings, by the TR, the TRBR rankings, or is it gonna be by, you know, the sanctioning bodies? Do you know what? I feel like chances are that first fight back is either gonna be Jermaine Franklin or Dempsey McKean. Otto Wallin is an outside chance, but if you're gonna try and keep it in-house, because obviously Otto Wallin and Jermaine Franklin are both Dimitri Salita, it might make more sense to just do it with Dempsey McKean, you know, because you'll get the Australian following there. He's got a slight bit of a UK backing. He's a 22-0, you know, not huge name, but it's the comeback fight, so they don't really care. Dillian Whyte fight in the summer, to be honest, I'm not really too keen to see it right now. I'd rather see that as both guys like end of the line fight, as opposed to, you know, having it as part of AJ's comeback story, you know, because then Dillian's playing AJ's narrative 2 times in a row. I really don't know if that's the way he wants to go, but he also needs another fight in the first quarter of this year so that we can kind of see what's really left in him. In terms of the one at the end of the year, I mean, look, I don't really hold high hopes, but if they're receptive to it, and if you've got enough time to make it sort of while you're going through the rest of the process, I mean, go for it. At the end of the day, you might as well. But yeah, I don't really hold high hopes for it, but we'll see what happens. We also got Gervonta Davis. He is fighting this weekend. Hector Garcia. He's had his issues with his woman over the last week or so, last week and a half. I haven't really spoke about it. Don't really care about it too tough. None of it's my business. If he struck her, then obviously the courts and stuff need to deal with that appropriately. If she made it up, again, same way. If someone has been paid to cover up the story, then also maybe that needs to be highlighted as well, because yeah, it's not really something I want to get into. I need to find out where the fight's being broadcast, because I checked on Fight TV and I didn't see it on there. I haven't heard anything about Sky picking it up or BT Sport, the Zone in the UK, so I need to find out whether or not that's going to be another like illegal stream or anything. But yeah, I'll have more to talk about, I guess, later on in the week. But yeah, let me finish it off there. That's sort of like my jumbled roundup of everything that I've kind of seen over the last few days. I'm sure there's more stuff, but yeah, that's enough for me. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, Hardcore Casual out.